You know, over the past 7 years, I've learned a lot about what makes YouTube ads work. I mean, 7 years focusing on just one traffic source. Eventually you start to figure out what works and what doesn't. But over the course of that time, I've also been running an agency. So I've lost count of how many different funnels I've launched for how many different brands and how many different industries. While over the course of this time, I've learned a lot about the traffic source itself, I've learned just as much about what the defining traits are between the advertisers that succeed with YouTube ads and those that fail. And in this video, rather than talking just about the foundational things like selling something that people actually want to buy or having enough margin to cover your ad expense, in this video, I want to talk more about the soft traits that are a little bit harder to see, but end up being massive bonuses and benefits if you're an advertiser that has these traits, or massive pitfalls if you're an advertiser that doesn't. In case you haven't watched any of my videos before, my name is Brandon Dillon with ResponseFlood.com, where we use YouTube ads to sell coaching, software, and services. And over the course of the time I've been using YouTube ads, I've noticed that there's three traits in particular that every single profitable advertiser I've worked with has. And generally speaking, it's what's missing from the advertisers that just never make their way into profitability. The first of those is that all of the winning advertisers are prolific. They're not sitting on their heels. They're not hoping that the thing that they built yesterday is the only thing that they have to build. Once they build one thing, they're already starting to think about the next thing. In my part of the equation, where I'm mainly focusing on the advertising and the marketing, where I see that is in the amount of ideas they have around messaging. They're always thinking about a new angle that could be tested, a new funnel that we could roll out, or they have a new offer that they want to promote either to cold audiences or to their existing audiences. And this is a big difference because a lot of the advertisers that don't make it on YouTube will invest 2 months in making a video ad, launch that video ad, and if it doesn't work, they think that YouTube ads as a traffic source is a failure. The real big difference and one of the key traits on all of the people that succeed with YouTube ads is that they are prolific. And that ends up segueing into the second trait, which is that all of them have an excellent sense of their data. They know the numbers that matter to their business. Now, as I mentioned, because my focus is on the marketing side, this really ends up boiling down to things like what their customer lifetime value is, what their customer acquisition cost is, what their lead to call conversion rate is, and how many calls they need to take to get a buyer. All of these things are the engine of direct response marketing, including on YouTube ads. And all of the advertisers that win know their numbers like the back of their hands. FYI, and kind of as a side note, if you're working with an agency or you've brought somebody in-house, they should have an excellent feel for the numbers that matter, and they should be bringing them to you in a way that makes sense. So they should be adding context to the data. If you're not working with an expert that's doing that, then it's probably time to find a different expert. And you, as the business owner, should know what those numbers are, and you should be driving hard to make sure that those numbers are being reported on a regular basis so that you can make optimization decisions and know when to pivot or persevere. Which leads to the third trait that all of the winning advertisers have, and that's that they are patient. Because they know their numbers and they realize that sometimes you need more data to make a smart decision, they're not in a rush. They're not going to run a campaign for a week and expect it to be profitable. They understand that these things take time to build, and as long as you're progressing and monitoring the data so that you're making smart decisions, that's a win. And sometimes in business, the best thing that you can do is wait and get the data. So those are the three traits that are the biggest common denominators for the advertisers that win with YouTube ads. I would recommend taking some time to evaluate your own perspective before you launch your first YouTube ad campaign and make sure that these traits are something that you're keeping in mind because they are the biggest things that are going to determine whether or not YouTube ads works for you or not outside of the fundamentals. So I hope you found this content useful. If you did and you like this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I will be releasing a lot more videos on things like YouTube ads, direct response marketing, lead generation, sales, and everything related to that. So if you like this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.